Hi everyone, my name is Ellie and today I will be doing an interview with one of our UQ alumni going down an MD PhD pathway. Chloe Yap, could you please tell us what was your degree, major or specialisation at UQ, or what is?
Sure. So my undergraduate degree and major at UQ, so I did a Bachelor of Science with an extended major in Biomedical Science. At the current point, I'm doing an MD PhD program, which is a bit of a funny setup. But basically, you do medicine full time, then you do some PhD full time, and then you finish with some medicine full time.
So what are you doing, what pathway are you doing now, like at the moment?
So in terms of what I'm doing now, I'm at the current exact point, I'm the first of my full-time PhD years. And so far I've completed 3 full-time years of medicine. So just to give you a bit of a framing of where I'm at. So I'm a PhD candidate essentially. I'm enrolled in the Faculty of Medicine at Mater Research Institute, but I'm also split across with the Institute of Molecular Bioscience from St. Lucia. So just kind of hopping between desks.
So what are your core duties or responsibilities at your level of study?
So my core responsibilities, I guess, is just running analysis essentially. My PhD is a dry lab in nature, so computational work. I guess from a big picture view, what we're doing is that we're using kind of statistical methods to draw inference and kind of understand this very complex and high dimensional biological data. And the limitation of, I guess, working with these data sets is that it's kind of so big. And so then what you end up doing is just working with high performance computing as well. So essentially kind of writing a lot of scripts in R, in Bash, and then sending your jobs to this cluster which exists somewhere and to run these really intensive, high memory, high RAM jobs that require a lot of computing power, essentially. And then I guess that's sort of, the result side of things. But I guess, as we all know, research is kind of a lot more than that. And often a lot of what we do is, well, on one hand, thinking, kind of planning, but then also writing and presenting. And that's, I guess, something to never underestimate on the extent of what you do when you are doing research.
So what do you enjoy about your field?
What do I enjoy about my field? What do I not enjoy about what I do? Honestly, I feel like the research kind of component is like the gap years I never had. Maybe that just kind of goes to show that I'm a really big nerd. But I love the process on all the levels. So I guess from a macroscopic level, there's this degree, I guess, of creative thinking that you do when, you're doing your own project. You ask not only why, but then I guess you kind of think, how else can I relate this to everything else that's going on, or things that, seem somewhat tangentially related, but might actually be interesting or very interesting. You also can see maybe from a somewhat philosophical point of view, you can see an incremental difference in progress that you make, which is very satisfying. On a micro level, just solving technical issues I actually quite enjoy. Not everyone does, but I don't know, I just do enjoy that. The field that I'm interested in is, broadly speaking, biological psychiatry. I specifically work on autism, but one of the really cool things about working in this kind of computational and genomics field is that you can pretty much apply your methods to whatever, and it sort of just works. And I'm interested in biological psychiatry because it's sort of one of those last frontiers of human understanding, as far as I see. Sort of understanding how we go from molecules to the mind. And one thing that I'm also very interested in are these links between the brain and the body, which have been historically divorced for decades, really, or centuries, or almost forever. And these links are sort of not really understood and not really looked at, but they're actually so pervasive. And I think there's a lot that we can gain from looking at things in a more integrated way.
What are some of the main highlights or your most memorable experiences at UQ so far?
So some of the most memorable experiences of my time at UQ, looking back at my undergrad, without a doubt, the Aspens program, I'm not sure whether it's still around anymore, but Advanced Study Program in Science, I think it stood for. these incredibly fond memories of just nerding out over totally random topics, people who worked on totally different things. I remember being given a project on like a first year kind of presentation on some instantiation of string theory, and we just looked at each other and we're like, no. But that was really, really fun. Like we went on a trip to Stratty, which I guess was kind of a bonding experience, but in reality it was just fun. That was great. In terms of how I spent my undergrad, almost all of it was actually, well, the vast majority of it I'd say was probably just in the lab, working, just trying to push out analysis. I just really enjoyed that, and I guess it consumed my undergraduate experience in a great way. Well, I thought it was a great way. Exchange is also fantastic. I went to Singapore. Asia, I think, is a fantastic place to go on exchange when you do science. And one of the best, I guess, and it's a fantastic program for the new Colombo plan, which puts people, undergraduates in Asia, with financial support, and it's just really fantastic. And would really recommend that for any undergraduates go forward.
Do you find that you're working with a lot of people in the lab, or is it more like each person has their own segment and then you go off and like come together at the end of the day, or work as a team, or like, is it mostly solo? Or
so for me, I mainly would say I work solo. I think that's probably reflective of quite a lot of what I think many PhD students would sort of be like. You kind of have this self-contained project, which you have a degree of ownership and autonomy over, which is kind of one of the best things as well. Like actually do, you have this freedom to explore what you want. Although having said that, there are of course other times where you, I guess, drop in on someone who's an expert in X, and you have a talk about something, or someone else might help you out with some part of your QC pipeline or your analysis pipeline, or sometimes you just end up emailing some other group across the world, because they have an interesting data set that you like to access, or something, a method that you would like to apply. So I guess it's quite flexible, but all in all, things are relatively self-contained, I'd say.
what made you choose to study biomedical science?
I guess I didn't give it a huge amount of thought in undergrad. I got a provisional place in medicine, and so I guess, the thing you do is fulfill those prerequisites as much as you can. So I guess, my initial decision was kind of more of a forward-facing one to some extent, but then when I became involved in, the Aspens program, and which then led to kind of summer research very early on, I guess it became clear to me that, something that I enjoyed so much was actually, something that I hadn't anticipated in the first instance.
Is there any particular pieces of advice that you'd give to new UQ students or students that would like to pursue a pathway similar to yours?
So in terms of, I guess, advice that I would give, maybe if I was talking to myself just before I started, it would be just, especially in first year, just try things that, seem a bit different, that you had an interest in. It doesn't matter whether or not you were good at them in high school, because what you're good at in high school doesn't actually reflect what you're actually good at, or what, you'll enjoy, perhaps more importantly. For example, my weakest and most hated subjects in high school were kind of statistics-based stuff and computer-based stuff. And what I'm doing on a daily basis at the moment is kind of like computational stuff and statistical work. So yeah, don't let that hold you back.